Hello, namaste, assalamu alaikum, welcome to Good For Us. And today we're going to talk about something that my guest knows so much more about than I do, and I will treat it as such. And this man is just a majestic human being. He has the ability to just remember stats like a freaking machine, and especially if it's related to county cricket, because he has a podcast called the County Cricket Podcast. Please do check it out on every single platform in the world. Aaron, the cricket connoisseur, how you doing, man?
Well, even better, to be honest, after that intro, Asjad. Far too kind, mate, far too kind. But yeah, I mean, county cricket, it's a little bit of a sad time in a way because the season's come to an end now. The season did finish officially yesterday, but goodness me, what a finish it was. It was electrifying, it was awe-inspiring, it was incredibly tense for me as a Warwickshire fan. But yeah, it's been a very, very memorable season. Great edition of the County Championship yet again in 2022 across both divisions. And yeah, 2023 has got a lot to live up to. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and I'm going to start off on a positive note for you, and then I'm going to get onto the downer from my side. But to start off with, Warwickshire are not getting relegated. They're going to stay in Division 1. So I just want you to talk a bit about Warwickshire and how their season went and how you feel at the end of this season after potentially being in contention for dropping down to Division 2, to the fact that, Warwickshire came back strong, man. This guy, I keep forgetting, Norwell or something. Like, you're going to tell
Liam
me.
Connor Norwell, yes.
Thank you.
My hero.
9 wickets. 9 wickets. Like, again, I'm going to let you talk about it. But yeah, Warwickshire, you're a Warwickshire fan from start to end. How do you feel?
Yeah, very mixed, to be honest, Asjad. I mean, if I'm being incredibly honest, I would say that in the Championship, it's been a lot more negative than positive. So there's been a lot of selection conundrums. There's been a lot of off-field stuff as well, which has completely disrupted the balance of the dressing room. And July in particular was a very, very tough month. We lost all three of our matches. And by that point, relegation was beckoning, even up until the penultimate game of the season. We lost against Gloucestershire in Bristol. Gloucestershire had not won a game in the first division of the county championship since 2005. And they decided, of all the weeks and all the games, to finally wrap up that first win. It was against my county of Warwickshire at the Seat Unique County Ground in Bristol. So overall, it's been a horrible season. It's been tremendously stressful as a Warwickshire fan. The fall from grace from being county champions to potential relegation fodder has not been easy at all. And I've had many a sleepless night as a Warwickshire fan. But then we fast forward to the Hampshire game, the 16th and final round, our last home game of the season, last session of the season, and the Bears need 5 wickets, defending 139 runs to stay in the first division. And Liam Norwell takes all 5 wickets in the session, ends up with unbelievable figures of 9 for 62 from 18.5 overs. They are the best bowling figures by any Warwickshire bowler in the county championship since Chris Wokes' 9 for 36 against Durham back in 2016. At that venue, by the way, at the Riverside, the one on your screen. But it was just unbelievable. 9 for 62. And I'm not sure how much detail you want me to go into here, Asjad, but Liam's had a really horrible season with injury. He'd only played 3 matches before this game. This was his 4th game of the season. He wasn't meant to play. He had a 10% chance of playing, according to our physios. We had no overseas players, so we had no option but to play him. He was playing with more strapping than an Egyptian mummy. He hurt his hamstring in the last session. Everything was going against this man. And yet, when his team needed him, my club needed him, he stepped up to the plate. And a great anecdote, a great analogy from Richard, who's BBC West Midlands cricket correspondent. He said it was almost like Atlas carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. And Liam Norwell did exactly that. It was an unbelievable performance, once in a lifetime stuff. And Warwickshire, from seemingly the depths of despair, all of a sudden, have got Division 1 cricket to look forward to in 2023.
That's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I haven't heard of Liam Norwell. Prior to this, to me, he's just a bowler who is pretty good. I just don't know much about him. But showing that heart and performing the way that he did in this particular match, do you think Warwickshire missed him throughout the season because of injury? Was he a
Yes.
huge? Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Humongous. In 2021, in our county championship winning season, he was our leading wicket taker. He took 49 wickets for the Bears over the course of the campaign, whereas this season, 4 matches, it makes a massive difference. If we would have had him for a couple more games, we would have been mid-table. I've got absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. Liam Norwell, yes, many people might not have heard of him, but he was actually the travelling reserve for England back in the West Indies tour earlier in 2022. So he's on the radar. He's played for the England Lions on many an occasion now. So he's in and around the mix. The only problem has been injuries. And in addition to that, as a result of those injuries, he's also had a rotten period of luck. So, for example, his second child got ill with meningitis earlier this year, almost died. So that was horrendous. And he's got such mental fortitude to come back from that horrifying experience. Thankfully, his family are all healthy now. But the fact is, he is going to be this consummate counter professional. Will he ever play for England? I don't know, especially given the emergence of the likes of Matt Potts and Matt Fisher. You've got the likes of Jamie Overton coming into the fold now. It does look unlikely. But if he can stay fit for Warwickshire County Cricket Club, yeah, we could be in the mix for some more trophies heading into the rest of the 2020s.
That would be great for Warwickshire. But one team this wasn't great for is a team that I'm kind of associated to because of where I live, aka Yorkshire, aka the team that I have always thought of as the pinnacle of county cricket. You might say maybe not, but in my head, it's always been Yorkshire, pinnacle, all that stuff. And then getting kicked out or relegated from Division 1. Again, I don't know this, so I'm going to paste this question to you. Have they been in Division 2 in the past 20 years? Because
Yep.
If they have,
Yep.
then they did a great job to come back in. But then going down again, why did they get into a situation where they've had a horrible season as well? Like, again, I don't know much about what's happening. My little bit of research doesn't tell me enough to talk about it in as much detail. But do you feel as though this is the best possible scenario at the end of the day for Yorkshire? Because now they've got a new captain in the next season. They're going to have
Sean
a few
Masood,
more.
yep.
Sean Masood, yeah, which is where I was heading towards. They're going to have Joe Root, and they're going to have a lot of their main players back. But also because you're going to be in Division 2, the quality of cricket, there is a difference. There is definitely a difference between the quality of bowlers you get in Division 1 and in Division 2. Do you think that will help Yorkshire, number one, get back into Division 1 for next year? And do you think the inclusion of someone like Shan Masood as their captain was a wise one from a Yorkshire perspective?
I'll talk about Masood first because that first question gets very complicated when you look at the off-field stuff and what's going to happen in November. So I'll start with Shan Masood first and foremost. Great signing. They've got him on a 2-year deal and he will be the captain for the White Rose heading into 2023 and the seasons beyond, I imagine. Great pickup from the White Rose. Had a fantastic summer for Derbyshire in this year's Division 2. But then if we look at the other question, Jazz, in a normal season with a normal club, if we were talking about any other first-class county, I'd say they've got a great chance of coming straight back up. They've got XYZ at their disposal. They're going to be strong. They're going to come back with a vengeance. The only problem with Yorkshire is the outcome of the CDC hearings in November. Because for those who are aware of the Cricket Disciplinary Committee here in England and Wales, they are tremendously strict. Tremendously strict. So in 2016, Durham got into some financial issues, well publicised, needed £3.8 million from the ECB. As a result of that financial bailout, Durham were immediately relegated to Division 2. Immediately. They finished 4th in 2016, but they got immediate relegation. In addition to that, they got a 48-point deduction heading into Division 2 for the 2017 Championship. They got further points deductions in the Royal London One Day Cup and the T20 Blast. They were forced to get rid of 2 of their best players in Mark Stoneman and Scott Borthwick. And you might be thinking, well, surely, Aaron, that's it. Oh, no. They had to introduce a salary cap. And as if that wasn't enough, the real cherry on top of the punishment cake from the CDC was getting rid of Test cricket from the Riverside. Now, bear in mind, that was just for financial issues. Just for financial issues. For those who are not aware, Yorkshire have got an awful lot of charges potentially coming their way as a result of the Azim Rafiq inquiry. We don't have enough time to go into all the ins and outs on that. If you want to do your own research, highly recommend it. There's far too much to discuss in this particular show. But I imagine that the sanctions which come as a result of that are going to be very severe. Do I know what those exact sanctions are going to be? No. because I'm not part of the process, but the CDC have got a track record of being tremendously tough. So this could range from anything, and this is just speculation at the moment, but we're looking at heavy fines. We are looking at the removal of international cricket from Headingley. We are looking at points deductions, and even the most extraordinary one, which I don't think will happen, but it has been floated, Yorkshire getting suspended from English cricket for the 2023 season. So all of this is hanging over Headingley. The next 2 months are going to be so uncertain for Yorkshire. And to be honest, regardless of what happened yesterday, they could have been relegated anyway as a result of these sanctions. This is not a good time at all for the White Rose. And bear in mind as well, they're losing some key players. Tom Kohler-Cadmore is going to Somerset.
Yeah.
For some unknown reason, they've released Stephen Patterson, who is their second leading wicket taker from this year's county championship, took 37 wickets, an average of 26, and yet for some reason they've got rid of him because he's too old, which I think is ridiculous. And then David Willey's gone back to Northampton. So all of these factors coming together, yes, they do have Shan Masood. They've brought in Ben Mike from Leicestershire. They've brought in Matt Milnes from Kent. But that cloud, that elephant in the room is hanging over Yorkshire until late November. So until we've got these sanctions and we know exactly what they are, very, very uncertain times for the most successful county in English and Welsh cricketing history.
Yeah, you just told me so many things that I wasn't fully aware of. So thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, it's going to be tough, not just the next 2 months, depending on the result of those what do you call it, that hearing. It might be a very difficult time for Yorkshire for the next few years. So let's hope whatever happens at the end of the day is for the betterment of cricket and the entire situation, not just thinking, oh, Yorkshire, one of the most prestigious, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter, right? They have to be held to the same standard as everyone else. So
yes, they
totally
do.
agree with you there. I'm going to get back onto the actual performances in this season. We mentioned Shan Masood briefly, so I'm going to talk about Shan Masood and Chiteshwar Pujara because, number one, Pujara came into this county season as, oh, he hasn't made many runs in international cricket for a while. He's going to be terrible in the UK. He's got an average of 107, if I'm not wrong, or somewhere close to 100, right, this season. He's striking the ball around 60, and he's in the top 10 run getters this county championship. Please do correct me if I get the stats wrong.
No, you're spot on.
Shad Masood, who, again, apart from the PSL, even the first class side in Pakistan, they were like, yeah, he's a bit hit or miss. He comes to the UK, 7th or 8th highest run getter this season. Didn't play. I think he played half the matches or something around that.
8 matches, yeah.
8 matches, right? Averaging around 70, 80 yards, striking around 70, 80 yard in this season as well. What did you think of those two? Because I know we talked about both of these guys like 2-3 months ago. And I was like, oh, this is really nice to see, blah, 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 blah. I didn't expect they would still be in the top 10 run getters of the season by the end of it because of performances like Keaton Jennings, performances like Sam Hain, right? Performances like that other guy, I can't remember who's the
Ben Compton.
Ben Compton, thank you, right? And you've got a couple more that I genuinely can't. Hasim Hamid as well. He's scored roles.
Been very good for Notts.
I know him as well. When you looked at him in the Ashes or last year, everyone was like, "Oh, he's gone." Like he's done fairly well, but then his season in 28, 19, 20, 21, he started to improve, but he's not hitting the same strides as he was when he first burst onto the scene. And then this season, again, he's just back to his averaging about 50 standards. So, you know, a bit of a conversation, a bit of your thoughts about all of these factors within this season.
Well, I'll start with Pujara Masood. Brilliant. Absolute privilege to watch those two in county cricket this season. Masood will be back, and for all intents and purposes, I think Pujara will be returning to Sussex in 2023, which is going to be fantastic. Both of those guys, 1,000+ run seasons. Pujara, I think he scored 1,094 runs from memory. Shan Masood scoring 1,074. So not much separating those two. Both played 8 matches as well. So that's interesting in terms of their performances. But they've just been magnificent. And you look at the counties they've gone to, 2 counties which in recent years have not done well in red ball cricket. Derbyshire had a little bit of a renaissance in 2020, but in 2021, it all came crashing back down again. They brought in Mickey Arthur. They did bring in Shan Masood. Wayne Madsen as well, Division 2's leading run scorer, a legend of the East Midlands County, was sensational this year. And all of a sudden, Derbyshire looked like a real team to watch out for heading into the future. Got some great young seam bowlers as well, with the likes of Sam Connors, George Scrimshaw, if he's going to be available for first-class cricket, Ben Aitchison as well, the former Cheshire seamer. Derbyshire really are a team to watch out for heading into 2023 and beyond. And then with Pujara, yes, Sussex, you look at the table, they finished second bottom, but it's a very, very young squad. It's full of teenagers, essentially. So they've got the likes of James Coles in there, Dan Ibrahim. Ali Orr's been brilliant as well. They've got a young captain now in Tom Haynes, who takes over when Pujara isn't there. I mean, Sussex are an interesting team because this has been a long transition. And Sussex, historically, have been a very good team in the county championship. They were winners back in the mid-2000s. But with Pujara in that team, alongside that young talent, they did look capable of a few upsets this season. It was just a case of that inexperience maybe coming to the forefront. You give them another season or two, especially with Pujara at the helm, and again, Sussex might fancy their chances. The only problem is that this has already been a long-term project. This has been going since 2020. We're 3 seasons in to this transition. And as we all know, it's great in theory to have a transition and say, we'll be fine. We'll be winning trophies in 2025 or 2026. It's a completely different thing to put that into practice. And let's not forget as well, the fans of Sussex, who for years were used to seeing their team winning trophies, whether that's in red ball cricket or white ball cricket, all of a sudden have got nothing to celebrate. So will they stick with this project? Who knows? Only time will tell. In fact, they have got rid of their first-class red ball coach as well, Ian Salisbury. Funnily enough, today he was removed from his position down on the south coast. So with those two players, going back onto Pujara and Masood, excellent signings, excellent additions. Can't wait to see them back in county cricket. And Hasib Hamid, again, I've always rated Hasib Hamid. I hated the way that his England career came crashing down in the first place, and that massively affected his performances for Lancashire. He's come to Notts, completely new energy, completely new player. He's got his confidence back, he's got his mojo back, and he's scoring runs. And again, this season, the second leading run scorer in Division 2, him and Ben Slater forming an excellent opening partnership for the East Midlands County. Again, long may it continue for Hasib Hamid. Wishing him nothing but the best heading into the future.
Yeah, and I'm glad you kind of went deeper into the facets of the team dynamics, because I think those are quite relevant, especially talking about these particular teams. Let me just talk about the other players that I mentioned about Keaton Jennings, Sam Hain, Ben Compton that you correctly pointed out. I just want to ask you something. Do you see any of them making an impact into England's test side in the coming years? Like Keaton Jennings, for me, is a tried and tested player who will probably not return. I don't see Ben Compton doing it. Sam Hain is a name I've heard for a number of years, which I don't think he's debuted, right? He hasn't debuted in the test.
Across any format, and that is one of the greatest, just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's horrendous that England have not given this man a debut, but I'll bite my tongue for the time being. I don't want to be here all night discussing that.
But I'll be honest, I think Sam Hain to me seems like the most the option that is the most likeliest to happen. But do you see any of the, let's say, the top 5 run getters this season getting a chance for England in the next year or so?
Yeah, and funnily enough, it's the one that you discounted. I think Keaton Jennings will be back for the Pakistan series. I genuinely see that happening. Wow. Keaton Jennings this summer, I kid you not, I don't know whether it's just down to his technique. He does look a lot more technically capable, or whether it's down to his approach, his temperament of the crease. He looks like a completely different player. Genuinely, he has dominated attack after attack after attack, scoring triple centuries, double centuries against Yorkshire. The guy's been a run machine this summer. And when you look at those stats, I know it's Test cricket, obviously, but we saw that stat, didn't we? Of Test openers in England averaging 22 over the course of the summer. Keaton Jennings has been averaging 72 in first-class cricket against Division 1 attacks. So Keaton Jennings, for me, whether or not he'll start in Pakistan, I don't know. But should he be in the squad, in my opinion? Yes. I believe in second chances, and he does look like a completely different player. I think he's better adapted than the likes of Ben Compton, Hamid. Through gritted teeth, I'll say he's better adapted than Sibley at the moment and Rory Burns. But I do think Jennings has got a chance as a backup opener. In terms of Sam Hain, incredible season, and he's done it with an injury. He had a bad back throughout June and July, and then yesterday came out like a Spartan warrior, batting on one leg with a torn hamstring and scored 9 vital runs. This season, 1,137 runs, averaging 63.16, and he has essentially carried the entirety of Warwickshire's batting lineup on his back. Now, whether or not we'll see him in Test cricket, because Ollie Pope is doing very well at number 3, and then at number 4 we've got one of the best players on the planet in Joe Root. Whether or not we'll see him anytime soon, I don't think so in red ball cricket. But what I will say, in 50 over cricket, considering that England have got a tour to Bangladesh coming next season, he should be given a go. This is the guy with the highest list A average of all time. He is Warwickshire's all-time leading Royal London One Day Cup run scorer. He does it in first-class cricket. He's done it for the England Lions. He scored a century against Australia in 2020. He even does it in the T20 Blast. Had a better strike rate than Phil Salt in this year's competition.
Woo! And that's saying something.
It is. It is. But this is the thing when it comes to Sam Hain. The goalposts have always shifted from England's perspective. First, it was his average, so he improved his average. Then it's his strike rate. Now his strike rate's better. Then it's his conversion rate. This summer, he's been absolutely outstanding. He scored 3 massive centuries, including a double ton against Northants. So I want to hear what the next excuse is, because this guy is pounding the door down with absolute sheer ferocity every single season, given his all for Warwickshire County Cricket Club, and yet he's not being given a look in. So I'd love to know the reasoning why, but Sam Hain, keep our fingers crossed, hashtag Sam Hain for England, and yeah, hopefully the man, the myth, the legend himself can play for the 3 Lions and a Crown at some point in the future.
Very well put. I'll get on to the bowlers because I just have one question. Can South African bowlers just come to England and just pick up wickets quite here, there, and everywhere? Like I'm just asking, like, because I understand both of these bowlers are very, very good and they've played county cricket for a very long time and all that stuff. They've been there since they burst onto the scene, and they keep on getting wickets upon wickets upon wickets every season, and they're almost unplayable, and they just keep performing really well. So my question is, who do you see from an English bowling perspective who can actually take over from them? So if I look at Simon Harmer, let's look at a potential off spinner from England who could be better or be up to par in terms of quality, right? And in terms of the pace bowlers, someone at the level of Kyle Abbott.
I think from an England perspective, Matt Potts. Matt Potts is that guy. And I will actually point out that if we're looking across both divisions, the leading wicket taker is actually a former England seam bowler with a test average under 20. It's Toby Rowland-Jones with 67 wickets for Middlesex. So TRJ, could he come back into the England fold? Probably not, but we can but hope. Who knows? You know, he was brilliant in 2017 when he came into the test fold. But in terms of England seamers, where the future lies, absolutely Matt Potts. He has just been unbelievable this season. 58 wickets for Durham in 10 matches. I mean, where do we even go from here? It's like every single week he was taking 6 or 7 wickets, not just over the match, in an innings. It was unbelievable. So Matt Potts is the future for me from an English perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it's funny, Matt Fisher's also another one, I would say. You didn't have the greatest of county seasons, but again, someone to watch out for. Unfortunately, that was because of injury more than anything else. But someone that I really want to mention here is Sam Cook. Now, Sam Cook took 51 wickets for Essex, so he did get that 50-plus wicket tally. Mm-hmm. But I'll look at him. He's an England Lions bowler. He played against South Africa in the warm-up game down in Kent. And this boy is so talented. He really is. He's 24 years old, bowls at a decent pace. He's got a lethal outswinger. And then his in-swinger is so potent as well. He is just your quintessential English seam bowler. He's got a great attitude. He's got a great work ethic. He constantly wants to improve. And if you look at his performances season in, season out, he's getting better. So for me, he's another one to watch out for the future. He's in the England Lions team. If England need that swing bowler, let's say a few years down the line, when we're looking to replace the likes of a Jimmy Anderson or Stuart Broad, whenever that may be, might be in the 2030s, for all we know, given those two.
Yeah.
But I think Sam Cook will be definitely someone to watch out for. And just one final thing for me to pick up on there, Rajjad. You mentioned about Simon Harmer and him being unplayable. Do you want to know a fantastic stat when it comes to Simon Harmer? There's one county in county cricket where Simon Harmer has only ever gone wicketless in a fourth innings, right? Only one county in the entire county circuit has done that on 2 occasions. Have a guess which county it is.
Is it Warwickshire?
It is. It is, yes. Last year, Hanuma Vihari scored 52, I think it was. Rob
Yeah.
Yates scored 120 as the Bears rifled their way to victory against Essex at Edgbaston. And then again this summer, because we chased down, I think it was 66 runs for victory, and we won with 10 wickets to spare. So, yeah, Simon Harmer, 59 wickets, but none of them in the fourth innings against Warwickshire.
How many in the second or first innings?
Not many. 3 over the course of those 2 games.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So he has a weakness. He has a weakness in the UK, and that's Warwickshire. 2 Pakistani bowlers I want to talk about just briefly because, I talk about Pakistan a lot more than any other country. Maybe India a little. Maybe England. Basically, Pakistan is like one of the main points. So Mohammad Abbas and Zafar Gohar picked up quite a few wickets in this season. Zafar Gohar, I've read and heard about more than I'd heard about Mohammad Abbas in this season, even though Abbas took more wickets. But Zafar Gohar, everyone's talking about, oh, he's developed his game a lot. He's really, really potent in the UK. Again, from a Pakistani perspective, I don't see Pakistan looking at Zafar Gohar unless and until Numan Ali keeps flopping for the next almost year. Until then, they won't even consider him. Again, different conditions, but I would be very, very happy if Pakistan gave Zafar Gohar a chance against England in the Test series that comes up after the T20 World Cup. But I know they won't. But I want to ask you, what was the reason why players like Abbas and Zafar Gohar were able to find wickets in this particular season? Could it be the fact that, international, no offense, but international players, when they come down to county level, there is a slight gap, so therefore quality kind of changes? Or was it just the fact that you saw improvements in both of them? Because when Abbas was playing for Pakistan as of late, his pace was down. Even if he was swinging the ball, it wasn't very effective. He was hit all over the place whenever he played in international cricket. And Zafar Gohar, unfortunately, hasn't been given enough of a run for Pakistan. So do you see any improvements in both of those players?
Yes and no. I think with Abbas, right, first and foremost, tremendously talented bowler. We all know that, but you do have to take into consideration his home ground, which is the Ageas Bowl. It's the second most seam-conducive surface in England and Wales. So that definitely does play a factor. Also has a fantastic bowling coach in Graham Welsh. And you mentioned about his effectiveness. I mentioned this back in 2020 during the COVID series, but something which Hampshire do with Ben Brown, the wicketkeeper, or an Aaron Donald, he does this sometimes, he's been the backup keeper recently, is they stand up to the stumps against him. So the real methodology of neutralising and nullifying Mohammad Abbas's in-swinger, for a lot of players, Dom Sibley did it in the England Test series, was coming outside of the crease. Hampshire got rid of that option, and all of a sudden, Mohammad Abbas is back in the wicket. So that's something which, if Abbas does come back into the Pakistan fold, is something which could be utilised. In terms of Zafar Gohar, goodness me, I really like this guy. He made an instant impact in 2021, took a shed load of wickets in a couple of games for Gloucestershire, and he's gelled with that dressing room so brilliantly. He's a tremendously popular figure, but the thing that I really like about him is he doesn't do anything ridiculously outside of the box as a spinner. And I'm going to use that word, and you know exactly word I'm going to use here, Asjad, metronomic. He puts it on a penny piece. Discipline, control, accuracy. He has this lovely way of changing up his flight as well. So he'll entice batsmen into playing a more expansive shot and then dart in an arm ball. It's lovely to watch. It really is. He looks like a bowler who really knows his skill set and his strengths. And I've got to say as well, when you look at the surfaces in these last 2 games in particular, yes, they are used wickets because it's been a long season, but Bristol and Headingley are not spin-friendly conditions at all. If he was doing this in Chelmsford or maybe Edgbaston or Old Trafford, you could potentially say, oh, well, there's a little bit in the surface. Those 2 pitches are notorious for being graveyards for spin bowlers, and yet Zafar's coming out here and taking fifers. I mean, I've been so impressed with him. And as I said, it's one thing to be talented, but it's another thing to have a really good work ethic and also to put in maximum effort and 100% dedication to a county. And Zafar's done that. He's also been very good with the bat as well. Scored a couple of 50s for Gloucestershire over the course of this summer. So in terms of those 2 Pakistani overseas, very, very impressed. And yeah, it'll be good to see them back in 2023.
Amazing. I'm not going to talk about Mohammad Siraj and Imam ul Haq or Umesh Yadav because number one, I don't have time. But number two, in my opinion, they didn't play enough matches for
Siraj played one game.
That's exactly my point, right?
Good game,
and then he was called back. Anyways, 2 points. First point is Surrey, deserved winners.
Yes,
deserved. Okay.
100%.
Okay. Good.
They wouldn't have beaten for the first 13 games. I mean, worthy winners. They did get very lucky against Warwickshire, though. Sam Haynes should have scored a century against them, but was robbed by one of the worst umpiring decisions I've ever seen in my life. But again, we'll save that for another show. Definitely not bitter about that, and definitely didn't bring it up with a lot of Surrey members down at the Oval. But no, they've played tremendous cricket, and someone to watch out for from a Surrey perspective, Tom Laws. Unbelievable. 19-year-old all-rounder, handy with the bats, incredible with the ball, possesses a lovely in-swinger. And for a 19-year-old to come in and just adapt flawlessly, effortlessly, pardon the pun, seamlessly in this situation is unheard of. He really is a precocious talent. So Tom Laws, watch out for him. And someone else who's been outstanding for Surrey all season long. He did get injured, but Jamie Overton. Jamie Overton deserved that England call-up. He's bowling 90-mile-an-hour rockets. Also tonks it with the bat as well.
Yeah.
And as a result of this, the great thing about Surrey this season, I won't keep you too long, Asjad, but they just had contributions throughout the entire team. So, for example, Aaron Hardy against Yorkshire, he only played one championship game, hit the match-winning runs. Tom Curran plays one championship game, scores a century against Northampton. Obviously, the England boys coming in now and again, the likes of Pope and Folkes, always seem to score runs. Folkes scored a century against Warwickshire, for example. So that was the thing with Surrey, and it is something for teams to be well aware of heading into the future. You can't just rely on one or two players. It really does have to be a combined team effort, and that is something which Surrey characterised quite brilliantly in 2022, and as a result, deserving champions, the 22nd trophy in their history. And with that team having the addition of my beloved Dom Sibley, yeah, it looks like they could be in for another shout in 2023.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Aaron. And last but not least, as always, Kamalka moment of the county championship season. Just one. Go for it.
How can I choose that? We saw Sam Northeast score 410 not out. We saw David Lloyd score a triple century, highest ever score on Welsh soil. We saw Matt Potts take loads of 7-fers and even an 8-fer. I'm going to have to be really biased. I'm so sorry, but what we witnessed yesterday, do you know the percentage of Warwickshire staying up? It was 0.05%.
Wow.
It was almost 1 in 1,000, right? This shouldn't have happened. And Liam Norwell in 18.5 overs, my Kamalka moment, because it's the first time that I could celebrate a win in county cricket since April. That's when we beat Essex at Edgbaston to secure our Division 1 status. Liam Norwell trapping Mohammed Abbas. Scenes of pure joy and relief and ecstasy around Edgbaston, the West Midlands, Warwickshire, probably even in the far corners of the globe. I mean, Warwickshire fans seem to be everywhere nowadays. So, yeah, Liam Norwell trapping Mohammed Abbas. Alex Davis giving it the big uns as well on the floor, acting as though he's just witnessed a World Cup victory. Kamalka moment, that shouldn't have happened. It really shouldn't. We'll never see that ever again in our lifetime. And for it to be my county just makes it that bit more sweeter.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Aaron. For everyone watching,
My pleasure.
Please do like, share, and subscribe. Do check out the Cricket Connoisseur on every single platform. County Cricket Podcast. Extraordinaire in terms of the cricket county scene, but also in terms of every associate nation and full member nation. He knows everything. He knows everything about cricket. Do check him out on Twitter and everything like that. Thank you very much. And until next time, take care.